Hello there. In today's video, we'll talk about the repetition signs. There are different types of repetition signs, and if you aren't familiar with them, you'll have trouble knowing what part of the composition to play next or how many times to repeat a certain part. That's why I've created this video to help you learn all there is to know about the repetition signs. The most commonly used repetition sign is the simple repetition sign. It consists of two double bar lines, one is thicker and the other one is thinner, with two dots facing the part of music that should be repeated. After you repeat the musical material that is inside, you should move on to the next section if there's one. And here's a musical example. There's another variation of this repetition sign, and that's the repetition sign with only one double bar line. If that's the case, we should go back to the beginning and repeat the material where our two little dots look at. After repeating the material, we should move on and play the next section. When a composer wants us to repeat a certain passage of music except the ending, which should be played differently, we use signs for first and second endings. We start to play the section from the beginning, going all the way to the repetition sign with a double bar line and two dots. Above the passage of music that should be played first time, brackets are placed with a number. This number tells us how many times this section should be repeated before we skip the first ending and play the second ending instead. I would like to show you some signs that are used to tell us what part of composition we should play and what we should skip or omit. DC. This is the da capo sign. This is Italian and means from the head or from the beginning. When we see this sign, it gives us instruction to play the piece from the beginning. DS. This one is the dal segno sign. This sign tells you to go back and repeat the music material from the sign. The da capo and dal segno signs are signs that tell you to go back to the beginning or back to the part that is marked with the sign above. These signs will give you the first instruction on where to go next, and they are the first that you should act upon. Fine. This is the fine sign. This sign is some sort of finish line. When you see it in the composition, you should play until you come to the sign fine. And that's where the composition will end. This is the segno sign. It is an indicator that you should return to this sign later in the composition or to skip some part from that sign. This is the coda sign. It means tail. Coda is usually the last part of a composition and it's marked with this sign. Let's see what the most frequently used combinations of repetition signs are. DC al fine. This means that you should play from the beginning until you reach the sign DC al fine. Then go back to the beginning from the head and play to the fine sign. That's where the composition will end. DS al coda. This means that you should play from the beginning until you reach the DS al coda. This means going back to the sign. Then go back to the segno from the sign and play to the to coda sign. When you reach the to coda sign, jump and play the coda. The beginning of coda is marked with the coda sign which I showed you. DC al coda. Start playing the piece from the beginning until you reach the DC al coda sign. And this means that you should go back to the beginning and play from there until you reach the to coda sign. From that sign, go and play the coda. These are the most frequently used repetition signs in music. There are other combinations, but when you know what each sign means, you'll understand all the combinations that could occur, and you'll be able to find your way to the end of the piece you play without any wrong turns. This was all I wanted to tell you about the repetition signs, and if you liked this video, please press like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.